Hello and welcome. I'm Cyril Stover with highlights of the news. Of course, as you know, the Desert Foxes of Algeria have earned themselves a semi-final clash with the Super Eagles of Nigeria. That's after taking out Côte d'Ivoire 4-3 on penalties, while the match between Madagascar and Tunisia is still on. We'll bring you the details of both matches in our subsequent bulletins. But for now, President Muhammadu Buhari has urged the President-elect of the United Nations General Assembly, Professor Tijani Mohamed Bandi, to justify the confidence reposed in him by Nigerians and indeed the global community. This was while receiving the diplomat who is also Nigeria's permanent representative to the United Nations. The Senate has received executive communication from President Buhari requesting the confirmation of Justice Ibrahim Tanko as Chief Justice of Nigeria and 15 special advisors to the President. The legislators of Thursday's plenary also commended President Buhari for signing the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement and recommended a national plan for its effective implementation. And the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation has debunked the rumor of a planned hike in the pump price of petroleum products. A statement by Group General Manager, Group Public Affairs, Ndu Gamadu, further explained that what the Group Managing Director said at the National Assembly on Wednesday centered on the disparity of prices in neighboring countries, and he sought the support of the National Assembly to curb smuggling of the product. NNPC maintained that the pump price of petrol remains 145 naira. Well, that's the news highlights, but coming up shortly after this, News 24, it will be one-on-one, while on NT International is a documentary, Buharinomics. That's what will be coming up. And then full news will come your way after the match.
May 29, 2015 ushered in the first tenure of President Muhammadu Buhari. At the time, the Nigerian economy was faced by an uphill task due to recklessness, corruption, and impunity in government business, leading to serious loss of confidence in the economy by all. It was a tough start, buoyed by a slowdown in global growth and prices of commodities, especially crude oil, the mainstay of the nation's revenue.
We made an assessment and realized that early on that the economy was in trouble and that we were going to go into recession. This assessment was an assessment we made internally as ministers, as an EMT, but also some external consultants that were friends with the administration made similar assessments, and we had interactions with them. It was clear where the economy was going. We were going to slide into recession. The major reasons were: one, the fall in the crude oil price. Secondly, the country had very little savings, so not enough savings to act as a fiscal buffer for us. And then thirdly, we were also over-dependent on importation of a lot of the things that we consume, whether it is fuel or rice or toothpicks, several things that we just employ. And you know, these importations means that we are spending foreign exchange that is already very, very scarce. So the reaction we had was, we did several scenarios of options of how to help, but it was clear that within the timing we were to work with, that we were going to go into recession.
2016 remains the year Nigerians would not forget recession and stagflation, the worst experience in the country for decades, Nigeria emerged stronger into positive territory within a short while in 2017, with the new government paying its way out of recession.
That from 2016, that was in negative growth. We went to negative, and I have 1.3% presently. It's a good indication. There should be some global economic problem that witnessed this administration.
And so we planned for how to pull the country very quickly out of recession. And we agreed that the fastest method was to reflate the economy, and that means spending into the economy, and we chose the spending area carefully. The president approved that we should borrow because revenue is short, that we should borrow, but borrow to fund major capital projects. And that was what we did. And because of that spending, in the first year, for the first time in this country, we were able to release up to 1 trillion naira within the system. The second year, 1.2, the third year, 1.3 trillion. This is spending that the type of spending that we have never witnessed in this economy, even when oil price was $120 per barrel. So that helped us to come out of recession. We were not the only country that went into recession at that time. Other countries that have similar economic situations, especially countries that are large producers of crude oil, also went into recession. But the approach we took helped us to come out of recession before any of those other countries. But it also meant we borrowed, and we made sure that the borrowing was spent on capital projects. These are projects that, with time, will also help to bring not only economic activity but future revenues for the country.
We met a difficult situation, but the president knew that he was coming to a difficult situation. So he came prepared to deal with it. And so we took decisive measures. In terms of the economy, we started off with short-term measures, which was an expansionary budget, supported by the Strategic Implementation Plan, the SIP, which contained a number of 20-term measures which we needed to do.
So the frantic efforts began, which saw a convergence of fiscal and monetary policies with a view to diversifying the economy, and all efforts were tied to the administration's cardinal principles of transparency and accountability, two factors that restored confidence of the world in Nigeria.
In any event, you still have a lot of corruption fighting back. The system fights back, and it's both an internal and external fight back. And you have to be steadfast and strategic to win the battle. There is no way that you have a system such as ours that has consistently thrived on corruption and proceeds of corruption, and public finance in particular, that will give up and just roll over and say, hey, guys, the problem has been solved. No. It's a system that has fed on corruption. It's a system that has actively dwelt on corruption. And it's a system that affects all aspects of governance. So so clearly, trying to deal with it is certainly not a walk in the park.
The reform started in the financial sector, aimed at halting wastages in governance and reducing fiscal leakages while shoring up the nation's revenue base, refinancing high-cost short-term domestic debt with relatively cheaper and longer tenured external debt, asset tracking and management projects, fiscal sustainability plans, and budget support facility for states of the Federation who were mostly bankrupt and couldn't even pay salaries.
And since then, growth has been on a positive trajectory. We also targeted to make sure that we have a stable exchange rate, and the monetary authorities have worked very hard towards. I recall that at some point the dollar was almost 500 naira to $1 US. Today we can say up to 2 years now, at least there's relative stability, exchange rate, and so there's predictability by businesses, and also especially in the area of trade. Other target was we were to bring down inflation, which at some point climbed to 18% to a single digit by the year 2020, and that is actually very fast approaching, because now we're at 11.2%, and by 2020 we hope that by the end of 2019 that we will be 10 or sub 10. So we'll have achieved our target 1 year ahead of the time that we set.
For the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, we said our #1 priority will be and is to be the enabling ministry for industry, trade and investment. That we're there to enable, to support, to facilitate, to help those that are players in the industry, trade and investment sector of the economy, right? And all our policy thrusts and all our interventions and reforms and initiatives have focused on achieving this important overarching objective.
There have been significant changes in terms of volume of what is going on. Sesame seed, for example, we're doing close to about 500,000 tons from Nigeria, and almost 95 or 97% of that is going for export. We're seeing increasing demand day by day from various countries who want the sesame seed from Nigeria. You look at cashew nut as well. Cashew has had problems in the past 1 or 2 years, I'll say, but this year there's been a significant upward movement in terms of volume that is going out. Prices are a bit low at the moment. Prices started very well, but a bit low at the moment. But compared to same time last year, I think we're in a better position right now.
Then came the aggressive and successful implementation of the Treasury single account in the first year of the administration. The whistleblower policy and a tight monetary stance by the monetary authorities became the magic wands that were setting the foot of the Nigerian economy back on track.
A lot of eyes are on Nigeria, and we must work hard to aggressively push up our growth numbers. But I'm hopeful that that this can be achieved, given the kind of discussion that have gone on even after the President Muhammad Buhari won the election. That at this time we will need to work about consolidating growth. We need to work about creating more jobs for our people, and that there is also a need for us to diversify the economy.
When I moved to the Ministry of Finance, the fiscal situation that I found here is a very tight one. Government finances are very, very tight, and yet across government people don't realize that money is short, and therefore people need to be cautious in their expenditure and also be selective in where and how they place their money. So people are always asking for money to do so many different things, as if the resources that we have are unending. And it's not true. We're in a very tight fiscal position. So that for me is a burden that I live here with every day. Every sector, every ministry, every department, everybody has a need for financing. And of course, we're not able to meet the needs of everybody. So one has to prioritize within the resources that you have. And you can imagine what that means. Some people will not be happy. Even the ones that you provide funding to are not happy because you're not able to give them everything that they are asking for. So that is tough.
To truly drive investments and promote diversification, the government developed a homegrown economic model, the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan ERGP, which is a medium-term plan focused on rebuilding a resilient economy. The key execution priorities of the ERGP include stabilizing the macroeconomic environment, achieving agriculture and food security, ensuring energy sufficiency in power and petroleum products, improving transportation infrastructure, as well as driving industrialization, focusing on small and medium enterprises, SMEs.
Those were part of my marching orders. As the Minister for Budget and National Planning, it was my job to coordinate the production of a that reflected Mr. President's priorities. If you recall, when he campaigned, Mr. President had campaigned on a very clear issues. One was security, two, anti-corruption, third was to restore the economy. So it was very clear. So we had a clear directive, clear objective. So it's Mr. President's plan. It is my responsibility as Minister of Budget and National Planning to coordinate that plan, as well as Mr. President's plan. It was always something that was required. It's just that, as I indicated, because of the consultative process Mr. President insisted on, he wanted everybody to be part of this economic recovery and growth plan. So because of that, we had the consultative process of meeting with National Assembly, meeting with the private sector, and so on. But even while we were doing that, we had anticipated many of the things in the plan, and they were already built into the 2016 budget and built into the SIP, which we produced. So many of the things there. And what were the essential elements of the plan already built in? The President wanted us to move as a nation from a consuming nation to a producing nation. He wanted us to be the powerhouse of production in Africa. So the plan is aimed at achieving that purpose. So the objective was always clear. The plan was basically to now develop the methodology of achieving those objectives.
So when we developed the ERGP, we consulted widely different stakeholders, and the interesting thing is we wanted guidance from Mr. President, and his focus area was agriculture. And he said, we quoted in the ERGP, he said we must grow what we eat and we must consume what we produce. That means we now interpreted that to mean that we must have agriculture and food security, which is one of the key execution priorities of the ERGP. We must have a situation whereby we are able to feed people with food that is grown in Nigeria, that we are not importing the rice that we eat. And when we also said we must consume what we produce, it was also for us an indication that manufacturing sectors must grow, so that all the major items that we use on a very frequent basis are items that are produced in Nigeria. So the ERGP had 5 execution priorities. For the Ministry of Budget and National Planning and Finance, execution priority of stabilizing the macroeconomic environment was an assignment for the Central Bank, the monetary authorities, the fiscal authorities, finance, as well as budget and national planning. The targets defined under that thematic area have been largely achieved. For example, we targeted a growth rate of 7% by the year 2020. But along the journey, it was that by the first 1.5 years, we would pull the country out of recession, which means moving from a negative growth of 2.6, which is where we attained, to a positive growth. And we did that actually in four quarters instead of the 6 that we targeted.
Now that plan, if you recall, has 3 primary objectives. Number 1 is to promote economic growth, sustainable, inclusive economic growth. Number 2 is to invest in our people. And number 3 is to create a competitive economy. If you then come and deal with the priorities of the plan, it says several things that are linked to both my ministry and to the work we do collectively as an economic management team. Number 1, it talks about policy stability and policy coherence, right? So, whether you're dealing with fiscal policies, monetary policies, and then structural policies, which have to do with trade, industry, investment. The policies that change an economy fundamentally over time are called the structural policy, and that's what those policies are all covered. So look at the priorities, for instance, of the ERGP, the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan. It talks about food security and importance of agriculture. It talks about infrastructure, power, transport, and so on. Then it talks about industrialization. And under industrialization, We focus on both SMEs and sectors. And in all those areas, we've worked coherently and cohesively to try and move the agenda of the government and Nigeria forward. I'll give you 2 or 3 examples. If you look at the council that the president set up to drive industrialization, the Nigerian Industrial Policy and Competitiveness Advisory Council. That council includes the Minister of Budget and National Planning, myself, and other members. I'm the vice chairman of the council, and the chairman of the council is the vice president. But we all have to work together to deal with the problems confronting industry in order to achieve our aspirations for industry, for economic growth, and also for job creation. And it's a collective effort, like you said. If you look at what the Ministry of Budget and National Planning led in terms of focus labs, which was basically a way to attract investors into the economy and deal with whatever bottlenecks were stopping those who are really trying to invest. We also, I think, were responsible for, 2 of the areas, to do with processing and value adding and manufacturing. So there's a lot of collaboration that takes place. And if you look at the focus labs again, the success of the focus labs is exactly the priority number 5 under my ministry, which is to proactively promote and attract foreign and domestic investments. And that's also what the focus labs were focused on. So we are really pursuing one objective in essence. And I think we are following the principle of one government.
The inflation rate as an inception was actually, because of the negative growth we witnessed, the inflation was 9% as of 2015, moved to 16% as of 2017 because of the macroeconomic issues. Then today, the inflation has come down to 11%. But the government actually done well from the high inflation rate of 16% to 11%.
The Buhari administration shored up investments and embarked on reforms in the following areas: ease of doing business, industrialization, attracting investments, MSME development, and fostering value chains. The 4-year period saw a reduction in bottlenecks associated with access to credit, a viable social investment program, and an agricultural revolution.
The whole agricultural sector is not seen in the old context like it used to be seen before. Before, people probably thought that farmers are just old people who will hold their hoes at their back and walk and go to the farm. But right now, it's agribusiness. So there's a whole ecosystem around agriculture. So you need technology now, and sitting down in your office, you are part of the ecosystem, you are part of the agribusiness. So we are seeing significant move of young people going in to create various avenues of services which they can provide to the farmers.
For me, that is the most significant development in the polity yet, because it then means that my theory that democracy in Africa is a fallacy because of extreme poverty is being proved. A time is coming in the very near future when politicians will not find people rushing to their homes to collect handouts, but have to go to farms and villages to beg voters. Then democracy will become quite serious, because you have to be able to convince them that you have something you've done for them before, or you are going to do for them, to persuade them to leave their farms and come and attend your rallies.
Within the 4-year period, the administration saw the establishment of key finance development institutions like the Development Bank of Nigeria, TBN, the Nigeria Incentives Risk-Based Sharing System for Agricultural Lending, NISAL, and the National Microfinance Bank to boost access to credit for the micro, small and medium sectors. The Bank of Agriculture is also in the process of recapitalization.
When you combine the two sources of finance, developmental financing and private financing, that reduces the burden, the budgetary burden on the government itself. And this is the way to go. So I could say there has been an alignment of the stars between the fiscal side and the monetary side in support of agriculture, and things can only get better.
Handlers of the economy say the Buhari administration in his second tenure will focus on consolidating on gains recorded during the first, with human capital development targeted to receive greater attention.
It will be basically delivering on unfinished business. continuing the implementation of the ERGP because it remains very, very relevant today as it was in 2016. The key priority areas in the ERGP are relevant, but we are advising additional focus on, already we have a social investment program. So this time around we're saying the social investment program should also be concentrating more on reducing poverty. And that the next time around we must have a special priority program that is building human capital, and that is additional prioritization on education and on health, because investing in human capital is very critical for a sustainable growth of any economy. And also in the fight against corruption, which has been a priority, that the fight should continue and be sustained, but it should also go beyond government to spread to the wider society. Because the thing is, corruption is a two-way traffic. It's not one person. So if you take bribe, it is a business giving somebody in government. So we have to also look beyond just the government official taking to the businesses that are giving. We are recommending those things, and of course also sustaining the effort on security, to make sure that there is comfort for the security of and welfare of the citizen, which is a primary responsibility of government.
If you have an educated population, a healthy population, you can actually turn population growth to a strength. Because when you use your population, you can actually increase your rate of growth. So definitely we want to be prepared for it. We want to prepare for the incoming population, particularly youth. We believe that it is important that we design programs for the youth, and which is why you've been seeing a lot of things rolled out for youth empowerment, particularly around the Empower, skill acquisition, training them in high-tech, IT, savvy, and so on. So those are the things that we are doing. Also, we believe that it's important to educate women, because by educating women, you can end up having fewer children and also reducing your rate of population growth. Other countries have used that and it has worked. When you educate women, you find that they are more conscious, they are more ambitious, and therefore you tend to find that that also leads to reduction in the population growth rate. Having said that, our policies are designed to ensure we can cope and that we can use our rising population as a strength as opposed to a problem.
The focus and consistency with which the first 4 years of the Buhari government restored investors' confidence, especially his re-election, means that consolidating on what have so far been built is on the horizon.
to Abuja, the place that unites Nigeria.
A determined father to serve was serially frustrated, later rejuvenated, and finally got it made. And having been tested and trusted, the citizens wanted him once more to lead the most populous black nation in the world. From an original intent to shift from an unfavorable paradigm to the quest to consolidate developmental strides, the story of President Muhammadu Buhari riding high and the call to service.
Nigerians and before God. Muhammadu Buhari of the All Progressive Congress.
Wide and wild celebrations yet again. The jubilation was across the nooks and crannies of the country by Nigerians who have been longing for the return of President Muhammadu Buhari for a second term in office. Their votes have counted at the February 23, 2019 presidential election. President Muhammadu Buhari emerged the winner. But then, the 2019 poll was never the first test of political might for the Daura-born People's General turned politician. Destiny was his first teacher in life. Buhari started his tests of tenacity as the only male and last of the 9 children of his mother in Dumurkwa, outskirts of Daura, Katsina State. Amongst a few fortunate children in the community, young Buhari started his education at the town school number 1, Daura. He proceeded and completed his secondary school education at the provincial secondary school, now Government College, Katsina, as a head boy in 1961.
General Buhari was a student of this college. He was admitted in 1956, and then he graduated from here in 1961. All his records are intact right from secondary school 1 to secondary school 6, and all his report cards are intact right now on the file. And going by the recommendation and the comments of his teachers on the file, from all indication we can see General Buhari right from his secondary school is a person of good character, is a person with personality traits, somebody who commands respect from his classmates and his teachers. He was even the head boy officer when there he graduated.
I started knowing him since secondary school. He was in Form 5, or he was in Form 6, I was in Form 1, secondary school Katsina. And coincidentally, he was my house captain. He was a very, very disciplined house captain. So the discipline of Muhammadu Buhari started even from school. I remember all the time when we were making noise in the dormitory, immediately pupils, we saw him coming, but would keep quiet, dead silent. So the man grew up to be a very disciplined person. And since he was young, he hated injustice.
At this moment of his life, a forthright and disciplined Buhari already had a foresight of the future he desired. He chose a career in the military as he was enlisted in the Nigerian army in 1961 and 2 years later trained as officer cadet in Aldershot, England. First, significantly so, Buhari, having demonstrated his bravery as a soldier, he was commissioned as second lieutenant in January 1963 and was appointed platoon commander in the legendary 2nd Infantry Battalion. From as second lieutenant in 1963, Muhammadu Buhari progressed steadily in his career and held posts at several divisions in the army. Subsequently, he became a military governor and Minister of Petroleum. In 1983, a big task, yet another national assignment beckoned. After a coup of December 31st, 1983, a tested and trusted Muhammadu Buhari was chosen by his colleagues to lead the nation in a new direction. It was at the time Nigeria desperately needed to fight indiscipline and inculcate the culture of civil responsibility in Nigerians.
We knew there was insecurity, we knew there was corruption, we knew there was all sorts of vices within the society. Once we establish that, then we begin to look for the man who is fit, who is capable, to provide solutions to some of this problem. And at that time, Buhari fit in very well because he was a good soldier, quite honest. He was a man of his mind, So I think he quite easily fit into it.
As expected, apart from giving a good fight to indiscipline, he was also encouraged to cheer corrupt practices. And it was an intent he has made known without pretense. However, the military regime of the anti-corruption crusader was short-lived. Then, away from the barracks to the ranch as Buhari withdrew to private life. But then, the Project Nigeria is a continuous one, and so its contribution to national development was far from being over. General Buhari was close to a decade in retirement before he was called upon by late General Sani Abacha in the mid-90s to pioneer the Petroleum Trust Fund, PTF. Under his watch, the excess accrues from fuel subsidy removal was utilized to improve all aspects of the nation's socio-economic life. The return of democracy to Nigeria in 1999 again triggered another search for men of integrity to champion the cause of new democratic governance in the country. With his unblemished track record in various previous offices, Muhammadu Buhari came to the mind of a wise man. Following several interventions, self-conviction, General Muhammadu Buhari offered to serve the nation again, but this time as a Democrat. On his first 3 attempts at the polls, Buhari only ended up challenging his defeats up to the Supreme Court. In 2003, he contested on the platform of the All Nigeria People's Party (NPP) against the then incumbent president Olusegun Obasanjo. He gave another shot in 2007 against the candidate of the then ruling People's Democratic Party, late Umar Musa Yar'Adua. Declared winner in the 2007 presidential election, Yar'Adua accepted the fact that the electoral process that produced him was flawed. Following unresolved differences, the dogged politician parted ways with the ANPP and pitched his tent with a new political party, Congress for Progressive Change, CPC. On this platform, Muhammadu Buhari contested the presidential election in 2011 against the then sitting president, Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. Again, he lost. And his role in the judiciary at that time was again dashed.
This decision of the Supreme Court is politically motivated and has little judicial content. This Supreme Court has proved no better than the Supreme Court of 2003 and 2007.
Jonathan. The outcome of that election, which Buhari also challenged up to the Supreme Court, made him to announce never to participate in elections again. His decision was not going to be, as Nigerians who believed in the Buhari phenomenon would not take his no for an answer.
that September, I said to him, you know, General, the situation that Nigeria is going to be in 4 years may be such that you may have to run. He was very angry with me because he said, I'm a man of my words, I will not go back on my words. I said, but you are not running for president for yourself. You've been president before. You are running for president for all of us. Therefore, it is not your decision alone. It is our collective decision. And if at the time, the party in the future says you must run, as a lone party member, you have to run. He said, no, I'm not going to change my decision.
And it was about what he could offer the country. If it was about him, then that 2011 resolve not to run again could have held. But we just told him, no, sir, it's not about you. It's about Nigeria. And it's about what you can offer Nigeria. I would believe you have a lot to offer, so you need to run again.
Towards the 2015 general election, what turned out to be a defining moment, a merger of major opposition political parties, altered the political permutation and the history of democracy in Nigeria. Buhari's CPC, Action Congress of Nigeria, ACN, All Nigeria People's Party, ANPP, and a faction, the All Progressives Grand Alliance, APGA, formed a common front. The All Progressives Congress, APC, was the result of a coalition. The ultimate goal was to end the reign of the then-ruling People's Democratic Party, PDP, which has been in power since 1999.
It became necessary, absolutely necessary, to ensure that we had a change. And the only way that change could occur was to ensure that, yes, we were in a position to have a strong opposition. If you remember, the opposition was very weak. There were so many parties. And if you talked of an alliance, definitely you have problems because you may not be in a position to really ensure that whatever is desired by the collective body is achieved. So that was why now a measure became very important.
I could recall speaking to Bola Aswaju and Akande, Chief Akande, because they have secured their constituency, the Southwest. For us in the North, the Southeast and South-South, there are strong divisions. The Southwest was the only secure constituency. And we advised that please get to the operation of the rest of the group. We came together, we decided what to do. This is an important political development because without coming together, the opposition, and taking away power from PDP, I wonder which political development and economic development and security could have been the consequences of subsequent events in this country.
The intention was captured in a succinct slogan, change. Then, Buhari reluctantly accepted to lead the change Nigerians were yearning for and ran again.
I humbly wish to present myself before you, before all Nigerians, and before God, seeking to be elected as APC's presidential candidate.
He contested the presidential ticket of the new but major opposition party, APC, with other 4 aspirants and emerged as the candidate.
Muhammadu Buhari as the winner.
It was a keenly contested primaries, you remember, and emerged. And clearly, this is without prejudice to all the qualities that all the other candidates, all the other aspirants had. Of course, he towers above all of them, and he emerged. So for us, it was like hitting the nail on the head and putting a round peg in a round hole.
With a much-wanted politician running again on the platform of a popular opposition party against a well-established ruling party, another tight contest loomed. And then, the ANC metamorphosed from just a party to a national movement as Buhari was seen as the answer to what Nigerians frantically yearning for: fight against corruption, improved security, and economic development. The wave of change swept across Nigeria like a wildfire leading up to the 2015 general elections.
Having been a former Minister of Petroleum, that under his watch 3 refineries were constructed. Having been a head of state, having been chairman of Petroleum Trust Fund that managed infrastructure development across the country, they could not trace anywhere where he pilfered public funds. So for that, over the years, he garnered a lot of supporters across the country and developed what we call cult followership.
This led to an unprecedented feat in the honors of Nigerian democracy. Though it happened in the month of April 2015, nobody was fooled on the announcement of the presidential election result. A sitting president was unseated for the first time in Nigeria, and the goal-getter achieved what he had longed for over 12 years. So, finally, Buhari got the mandate, and Nigerians who believe in him welcome a new leader to pilot the country in a new direction and a greater height of development. This shocking list of Nigerians' yearning and expectations on socio-economic development is literally endless, and they would not settle for less. Despite an initial health challenge, Muhammadu Buhari administration settled in and faced the challenges confronting the country. Boko Haram terrorist insurgency in the northeast has been largely degraded. Corruption is being scaled down and the economy picking up. Infrastructure projects are also springing up like never before.
It's been proven that there will be no development, economically, socially, without having the infrastructures in place. And that's what it came to do. For me, that is what, for me, is the peak of the pack in the achievement of President Muhammadu Buhari. Today, whatever anybody wants to say, just look at it. Look at our transportation system. Look at our railways. My dad spent all his life working for the railways, so I know it. I can speak to it. Railways was dead, totally buried. He came, like play, he resolved it. Nigeria was not just created today. Even this new dispensation from 1999 now, 1999 to now, will be 20 years this year. So why was it difficult in those previous 16 years for anybody to fix those rails? Look at our airport. For the first time, nobody has done it. That rail will get to the airport. Go to Abuja airport. You will feel that you are anywhere in the world. So when you say things like that, as a people, we must learn to look deeply and compare and see. Yes, we may not be where we want to be. But clearly, President Muhammadu Buhari is working his talk.
Mr. President, in spite of the meager resource, had embarked on the most massive critical infrastructure for the country in the last 3.5 years. 5,000 kilometers of federal roads, 5,000 kilometers of standard gauge rail line, additional 5,000 megawatts of electricity. And it has also embarked on the agrarian revolution, where the state is pumping in money to help farmers. To me, it has been done in the past 19 years, we return to the Fourth Republic. Nigeria could have been a different country.
Barely 3 years into this new taste of governance, Nigeria Nigerians were already yearning for more, as they could not wait for Buhari to declare his intention to run for another term. As early as April 2018, President Buhari broke the ice. Despite that, individuals and groups of supporters would not leave anything to chance in ensuring the return of the man of the people.
We knew that Mr. President on his own, even in 2014, some people bought the phone for him. So coming into power as president and knowing the kind of person he is, we didn't want him to make it too late. If we had left him, he would have just gone back to Daura with his cows. But we felt we needed somebody like him who will certainly not touch other people's funds, which happened in the past.
And then, the Buhari Osinbajo administration decided to take developmental strides in the Nigeria project to the next level. The yearning for more by Nigerians was likely the case amongst the APC card-carrying members, as Buhari again emerged the sole candidate of the party after a direct primary election across the country. However, the unanimous decision of the party was not going to be binding on all Nigerians. The incumbent president faced an unprecedented challenge in the 2019 general election, with 73 candidates on the ballot paper contesting for the #1 seat. The principal challenger was a former vice president, Atiku Abubakar, who was once a stalwart of the ruling party. Coming in the year the country marks 20 years of uninterrupted democratic rule, the decision was for the eligible electorate to take at the poll on February 23, 2019.
Muhammadu Buhari of the All Progressives Congress had satisfied the requirements of the law and scored the highest number of votes, is hereby declared winner and is returned elected. Thank you.
The love for Muhammadu Buhari defied all descriptions. Old and young expressed this in different ways.
I like the government because farmers are making money. Apart from that, I see me, time we never did there. My promotion another day like this. My business, no, they move. But now they move. They move well.
Most of the leaders in this country are those who either buy their love, or buy their fame, or buy their political position. But in your own case, you don't spend 1 naira. And you have love come to you. You have leadership come your way. This is only judgment I have to say you are destined by God to govern this country.
While Nigerians expect the judiciary to ratify their decision, President Muhammadu Buhari gains another 4-year term and is last constitutionally allowed. The promise is to take Nigeria to next level.
The next level is going to be a level of infrastructure all over the country. Roads, rail, power, healthcare, everything infrastructure will have a major emphasis under the next level. Then healthcare itself will be a standalone focus under the next level. Therefore, the next level is a level of consolidation. It's a level in which Nigeria will go beyond potentials and will begin to realize her potentials.
All of the things he had done did not to make Muhammadu Buhari to own homes in excess of need, to buy cars or own them in excess of need, to open foreign bank accounts, or to steal from the treasury. No, it cannot happen now that at this advanced age of his life, that President Muhammadu Buhari will become a different person than he had been. And I think this, in essence, is what warranted Nigerians' trust in him, mandating him to carry on for 4 more years as elected president of Nigeria. I assure Nigerians that the Buhari they know It's the same Buhari they have, and it's the same Buhari they continue to have.
In the provision of such quality primary health care available, accessible, and affordable to more than 3 million citizens.
Sector initiative to support its quest to provide affordable health care for its populace.
Commend President Muhammad Buhari for his strong political and economic will in accepting to sign the agreement.
National Assembly commends President Buhari for signing Africa Free Trade Agreement. Nigeria marks Third African Anti-Corruption Day. Focus is on looted funds repatriated back to the continent. Plus, suspected measles outbreak kills 7 children in Kano. Hello and welcome to NTA Network News. I'm Cyril Stover in Abuja. Also in tonight is Dotun Oguyemi in Lagos and Kemi Akinwande in Ibadan. President Muhammadu Buhari is urging the President-elect of the United Nations General Assembly, Professor Tijani Mohamed Bandi, to justify the confidence reposed in him by Nigerians and indeed the global community. This was while receiving the diplomat, who is also Nigeria's permanent representative to the United Nations. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu reports.
Visiting home for the first time since his election as the 74th President of the United Nations General Assembly, Ambassador Muhammad Bande was in the State House to say thank you to President Muhammadu Buhari for his unflinching support, desired leadership, and enormous goodwill which he leveraged to victory. President Buhari, who congratulated Professor Bande on his election, urged him to remain a shining example in the diplomatic cycle by discharging his responsibilities conscientiously to the best of his ability and with high sense of responsibility.
You have intellectually prepared yourself and you are lucky to have the experience. I'm pleased your support has been unanimous. We certainly expect that you will work well there and to earn the respect of your colleagues and the support of the world body.
Ambassador Muhammad Bande assured the President that on assumption of duty, he will give a good account of Nigeria, saying that issues of great importance to the country, including peace and security, poverty eradication, education, and climate action, especially on the Lake Chad region, would be on the front burner of his presidency.
Climate is connected to problems of low production, problems of movement of people, migration, you have seen, but also it has generated conflict. Largely, the problem in the Lake Chad region has been felt over a long period of time by climate change. This is not a Nigerian problem, it's a global problem.
The permanent representative who outlined his vision statement for the United Nations General Assembly presidency stressed that the fight against corruption and the return of stolen assets to the countries of origin will be prioritized.
The fight against corruption has really taken traction under the leadership of Nigeria at the United Nations. The discussions concerning combating illicit financial flows and the fight to return assets to countries of origin has been led effectively by Nigeria with the support of many countries, especially Norway. Because at home we are making improvements, we will also show that we can also give leadership to the global community on matters that we have committed to doing. We'll do them to the best of our ability. We'll stick with what is right.
Elected president of the 74th United Nations General Assembly on the 4th of June this year, Professor Tijani Muhammad Bande is to assume office in September. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
A state-of-the-art medical facility to provide free services to 60% of patients comprising the poor and the marginalized has been inaugurated in Abuja, the nation's capital. It is the Tulsi Chanrai Foundation Eye Hospital. President Muhammadu Buhari, who performed the ceremony, applauded the Chanrai family and the foundation for contributing generously to the health and well-being of the Nigerian people. Here again is State House correspondent Adamu Sambu with the report.
The 54-bed capacity facility, which commenced operations in January this year, has since provided eye services to over 6,400 patients and performed over 1,000 surgeries, 850 of them free of charge. The hospital has the capacity to perform 15,000 surgeries annually.
It is a healthcare facility, the likes of which the country needs.
President Muhammadu Buhari appreciated all concerned for the sacrifices made in the provision of the state-of-the-art facility to provide services that were neither available in the country nor affordable to majority of those in need.
I am very pleased to note their contribution to check and prevent avoidable blindness by restoring vision of more than 120,000 Nigerians, free of charge. These services will now be enhanced with this state-of-the-art hospital in the heart of Nigeria. Let me say again that I am very pleased to recognize the tremendous efforts and sacrifice of all concerned in the provision of such quality primary health care available, accessible, and affordable to more than 3 million citizens.
The long-term investments and humanitarian services by the Chanrai family in the country since independence, President Buhari said, clearly demonstrates a commitment to the socio-economic development of Nigeria and better life for the less privileged.
Today, other than trading, this group is also engaged in industrial manufacturing with plants in various parts of the country, engaging in processing, adding value, and contributing to Nigerian industrial development. In addition, I'm informed that the foundation is engaged in the rehabilitation of boreholes program across Nigeria, covering 32 states. So far, they have rehabilitated more than 7,000 boreholes, providing safe drinking water to more than 3 million Nigerians.
Both the chairman, Tulsi Chanrai Foundation, Mr. Jagdish Chanrai, and chairman of the board, Ahmed Joda, said the eye hospital is just the beginning of what they intend to do to give back to the Nigerian society for the hospitality enjoyed by the Chanrai family over the decades.
All our work is rooted in caring capitalism. I am honored to dedicate the TCF Eye Hospital to the people of Nigeria. and pledge to do my best to further health care for this great nation.
The hospital, being managed by Aravind Eye Care System of India, will be largely operated by a Nigerian team of nearly 40 eye specialists trained in the Asian country. In Abuja, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Senate has received executive communication from President Muhammadu Buhari requesting the confirmation of Justice Ibrahim Tanko as Chief Justice of Nigeria and 15 special advisors to the President. The legislators at Thursday's plenary also commended President Buhari for signing the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement and recommended a national plan for its effective implementation. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nko reports.
Of his functions.
Plenary commenced with President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, reading the letter of the President requesting confirmation of nominees. Senator Jibrin Barau drew the attention of the Senate to the agreement recently signed by the President, which makes Nigeria a member of the African Continental Free Trade Union. It described the agreement as a welcome development and advised the federal government to create more economic zones and sensitize the business community in Nigeria of the benefits of the policy.
Commend President Muhammad Buhari for his strong political and economic will in accepting to sign the agreement.
So when we come together as Africa, trading with one another, Nigeria definitely will emerge as the economic leader.
We are the only African country that if we get our act together, the signing of this agreement will be one of the best benefits that we can have.
The issue of inefficient service by telecommunication companies, especially drop calls, resonated on the floor as the Senate resolved to summon the management of Nigerian Communications Commission and to carry out an investigative public hearing on the matter. The motion moved by Senator Abdul Fattah Buhari emphasized the role of the Nigerian Communications Commission in protecting consumers and ensure that they are compensated for interrupted services.
That operators also have an unfair advantage with drop calls.
I think it is high time this matter was solved.
That it is the NCC that should be held accountable.
We'll definitely do the right thing, and if it requires blacklisting an operator, we'll go for that.
Senate urged the federal government to give special consideration to the Modibo Adama University of Technology, Yola, to establish a medical school and teaching hospital. This came in a motion by Senator Aishatu Dahiru.
Adama State and Taraba are in dire need of a medical school and a university teaching hospital.
And it's surprising today that if a place like Modibo University of Technology is yet to be given teaching hospital.
Chairman Senate Ad hoc Committee on Media and Publicity, Senator Adedayo Adeye, briefed Senate correspondents, during which he explained that the Senate will give the list of ministerial nominees the needed attention when transmitted.
We are too eager, like I told you, to consider the ministerial list of the President. We want to hit the ground running, and we have started.
President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, granted audience to Women Parliamentarian Forum, which demanded special consideration for women in the composition of committees. Senator Lawan assured them of a gender-sensitive Senate. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nko, NTA News.
Meanwhile, reducing the cost of governance, amendment of the Electoral Act, and the need to have more women's participation in the legislature are some of the prospects for consideration on the legislative agenda of the 9th National Assembly. National Assembly correspondent Amatola Amojola reports that the Senate Committee on Legislative Agenda stated this at a meeting with stakeholders.
A legislative framework at the start of an assembly is said to be imperative for building an effective legislature that meets the yearnings of citizens in good governance. This informed the decision by the Senate Ad hoc Committee on Legislative Agenda to engage stakeholders to start the process. Some of the submissions at the meeting bother on police reforms, constitutional amendment, devolution of power to states, and reform in the judiciary to restore public confidence, among other issues.
being able to capture a process of sharing information on the budget of the National Assembly so that this would be very clear and transparent to Nigerians. A lot of times Nigerians offer opinions on the funding of the National Assembly in ways that sometimes is not too well informed.
We believe that the National Assembly can be able to help to reduce the cost of governance in Nigeria by eliminating duplication, waste, and ensuring that they do things, in a manner that, it will help save Nigeria and prioritize, investment on the Nigerian people.
Distinguished colleagues, I think we have to thank Mr. Clement Nwoko very well for his far-reaching, presentation. It has really added a lot to what we have, even though a number of these have been included in the 9th Senate agenda.
The legislative agenda, which started during the 6th Assembly, has become a norm in the National Assembly. From the National Assembly, Amotola Omojola, NTA News.
And staying with the legislature, the House of Representatives at Thursday's plenary passed its second reading a bill seeking to establish a national commission against the proliferation of small arms and light weapons to ensure coordination and implementation of activities towards combating the act pursuant to the ECOWAS Convention on the matter. National Assembly correspondent Kenneth Nanim has details on this and other resolutions of the House.
How best to contain proliferation of small arms and light weapons has been a major challenge in the fight against terrorism, banditry and other forms of criminality in countries of West African sub-region, including Nigeria. Sponsor of the bill, Mohammed Mungunu from Borno State, and other members believe it has become imperative to have a commission to address the issues headlong.
Avalanche of armed banditry, herdsmen farmers clashes, Boko Haram insurgency, and even the problem of the Shiite sect that is beginning to rear its ugly head in our body polity can all be traced to the fact that non-state actors are in possession of these small arms and light weapons.
The Commission is expected to take the necessary measures to ensure safe and effective management, storage, and security of national stocks of small arms and light weapons.
When you looked at the functions of the Commission, it's in line with mopping up completely of all arms and ammunition within the country.
Those in favor of the bill, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. The ayes have it. Bill referred to Committee on National Security and Intelligence when constituted.
In line with commemoration of World Population Day, the House, in a motion by Representative Nkiruka Onyejocha from Abia State on the need to address issues affecting females in Nigeria, urged the federal government to develop a short, medium and long-term plan to give attention to the issues.
The House is also concerned that with the rise in insurgency, sectarian crisis and killings in recent years in Nigeria, the plight of women has worsened, with more widows and orphaned children, especially the girl child.
The House also urged the National Population Commission to prepare an action plan for population census in Nigeria and forward same to the National Assembly for legislative action. The House of Representatives also at Thursday's plenary adopted two motions of urgent public importance, including that urging the Federal Ministry of Power Works and Housing and the Federal Road Maintenance Agency to commence rehabilitation of Ajokuta-Itobe Road and Bridge to ease off traffic and other road hazards in the area. Plenary was adjourned till Tuesday, the 16th of July, 2019. From the National Assembly, Kenneth Nanim, NTA News.
President Muhammad Buhari has directed that the production and personalization of all Nigerian e-passports and related documentation shall be the sole responsibility of the Nigerian Security Printing and Minting Company. A statement from the presidency says, with the new directive, all existing memoranda of understanding and contracts on printing by other institutions, companies, will not be renewed. The Mint, as the Nigerian Security Printing and Minting Company is popularly called, is the largest banknote and security document specialist printing company in West Africa. However, its performance had been rapidly dwindling in terms of both currency production and security documents. And the presidency welcomes the recent report to the British Foreign Commonwealth Office, specifically the British government's new focus on herder-farmer clashes. A statement by the senior special assistant to the president on media and publicity, Garba Shehu, indicates that the National Livestock Transformation Plan sets out to deal with conflicting issues by preventing open grazing of cattle and the destruction of crops. It further explains that the plans do not come at one or another's expense. Instead, they shall make both farmers and herders richer. The report also highlighted the threat from Boko Haram in their mission to establish an Islamic state in place of the secular state where the group once administered some territory, but they now hold on to none. In those fringe areas and spaces where they still pose a threat, as they're being chased and their bases smashed. The statement quotes President Buhari reasserting at Easter that, we quote, "I will do all it takes to confront these security challenges and not allow merchants of death and evil to overwhelm the nation," end of quote. The Office of the Accountant General of the Federation is playing a pivotal role towards the full actualization of the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan of the federal government. The effort received the commendation of the peer review mechanism team when it visited the Treasury House to ascertain the compliance level of the office as it affects service delivery to Nigerians. Adebola Brookslyn Sunday reports.
Records show that in 2018, about 207 billion naira savings was made by the federal government from the civil service through the curbing of multiple accounts using the Integrated Payroll and Personnel Information System, IPPIS, as a tool. Led by the head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Winifred Oyoita, the team is in the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation for idea and experience sharing among ministries, departments, and agencies to consolidate on the reforms of the change agenda.
Ladies and gentlemen,
presenting his scorecard, the Accountant General of the Federation, Ahmed Idris, said his office assisted in the improvement of revenue collection mechanism through e-collection.
We shall continue to make you proud in the discharge of our onerous responsibilities of entrenching transparency and accountability.
Representatives of labor unions took advantage of the visit to express concerns on the need for harmonization of professional qualifications and upgrade of staff. And the Permanent Secretary, Service Policies and Strategies Office, Magdalene Ajani, was directed to see to the issues. The team was then conducted round the server room, staff clinic, and e-library.
By the time we conclude the mop-up on the HR module verification, we are going to find a much huger savings that will arise for government.
Forensic accountability and asset tracking management system are other initiatives introduced by the present administration. Adebola Brookslyn Sunday, NTA News.
We'll take a break now for some messages. The news returns shortly. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation has debunked the rumor of a planned hike in the pump price of petroleum products. A statement by the Group General Manager, Group Public Affairs, Ndu Gamadu, further explained that what the Group Managing Director said at the National Assembly on Wednesday was only to highlight the disparity of prices in neighboring countries, as well as seek support of the National Assembly to curb smuggling of the product. NNPC maintained that The pump price of petrol remains 145 naira. The Presidential Election Petition Court has resumed hearing on the petition of the People's Democratic Party and its candidate Atiku Abubakar after a day break to attend to other petitions which are still at the pre-hearing stage. Delia Tumbi reports.
Break afforded the 5-man Presidential Election Petition Court led by Justice Mohamed Gaba to attend to the petitions of Hope Democratic Party and that of the People's Democratic Movement. At Thursday's hearing, the petitioners continue to call additional witnesses in support of their petition. At the last hearing, the People's Democratic Party and its candidate Atiku Abubakar have called 19 witnesses. The petitioners this Thursday called additional 9 witnesses, bringing to 28 all those that have witnessed before the court out of 400 proposed by the PDP and its candidate. All the witnesses were alleging overvoting, alteration of results, and non-usage of card reader in some circumstances. The witnesses who adopted their statements under oath as their evidence in chief were led in evidence by the counsel to the petitioners, Livy Uzogu, SAN. So far, some of the witnesses are local government coalition agents of the PDP during the presidential election. During cross-examination, counsel to President Muhammadu Buhari, Wale Olanipekun SAN, Usman Ustaz SAN for INEC, and Charles Edosonwan SAN for APC put the witnesses to task on the allegation, which were criminal in nature. Counsel to the respondents also pushed it before the court that the witnesses relied on reports from party agents who are still alive but not brought to witness, thereby rendering the witnesses to be given a third-party evidence that is inadmissible in law. The petitioners are challenging the victory of President Muhammadu Buhari in the February 23 presidential election in 11 states in the North Central, Northeast, and Northwest geopolitical zones of the country. The PDP and its candidate have 10 days to call their witnesses. At this Thursday's hearing, National Chairman of the APC, Adams Oshiomhole, represented President Muhammadu Buhari and the APC, while Peter Obi stood in for the PDP and its candidate, who are the petitioners in this matter. The Presidential Election Petition Court adjourns further hearing in the matter to Friday, 12th July 2019. In Abuja, Dele Atumbi, NTA News.
Nigeria has joined the rest of Africa to mark the 3rd Africa Anti-Corruption Day, with the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission organizing a lecture on the theme for the 2019 celebration, which focuses on repatriating looted funds back to the continent.
Although they are from different backgrounds, some are military personnel, the paramilitary and technocrats. But one thing here is certain: they have a common vision. They want a prosperous Africa free from corruption. Therefore, issues and challenges associated to corruption and how to come up with strategies to stop billions of dollars alleged to be mismanaged every year has been the agenda. With the theme towards a common African position on assets recovery, speakers at this lecture say it is incumbent upon relevant authorities to focus on civil procedure on assets recovery and how to return it to the rightful countries rather than focusing on looters.
While unity among nations in the African continent is critical in demanding the recovery and return of all stolen money and assets, we also need accountability and transparency in the utilization of return assets.
This government is committed to halting the menace of corruption and will continue to build and strengthen institutions to block leakages. Policies will be developed and enforced to achieve this noble goal.
As a deliberate attempt to sensitize the public against corruption, a workshop was staged where officials defy the early morning rains in their campaign.
And as Nigeria joins the rest of the continent to mark the Anti-Corruption Day, experts are challenging member states to work collectively towards recovering assets and looted funds stashed in foreign countries. Comfort Amodo reports that this was the thrust of discussions at an event that brought together the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission and the civil society.
Nigeria, like many African countries of the world, has been grappling with the issues of corruption, particularly money laundering, looted funds, stolen assets, tax evasion, and a host of other activities that hamper growth and development. However, the expert posit that the major challenge Nigeria is constantly faced with is recovering these funds and assets from foreign countries whose territories the ill-gotten wealth are transferred to.
The World Bank and Nigeria signed a joint agreement in which the 321 million is how it should be used.
The procedure increases the assets available for the state to prosecute its program of good governance to the people. A good example is Nigeria's social investment program, which is funded 100% through recovered assets.
Arresting the situation and tackling all forms of corrupt practices have been top on the agenda of President Muhammadu Buhari's administration. Hence, the need to adopt a common African position on asset recovery, which took center stage at the meeting commemorating the second African Union Anti-Corruption Day.
Nigeria has been recognized as a leader. We have also witnessed the only substantial recovered loot, the $322 million, have been actually transferred from Switzerland to Nigeria.
The African Union Anti-Corruption Day, which is targeted at enabling all the 55 AU countries raise more awareness on corruption, has the theme towards a common African position on asset recovery. In Abuja, Comfort Amadou, NTA News.
Refugees wishing to travel outside the shores of Nigeria can now do so with ease, courtesy of a conventional travel document introduced by the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons to that effect. Mamso Damian Dutty reports.
An emotional reunion for Dr. Marina Asani and Jermaine Ikumu, both from the People's Republic of Congo. Diverse circumstances had compelled them to flee their home country many years ago.
I discovered that this lady is from the same place with my late husband, and she became a refugee. So I found again my part of my Congolese family also.
Husband is my brother from Kisangani, precisely Ituri. He died. We lost each other contact after a while, and I'm surprised to meet again.
So,
I am so happy. It's a small world.
Today, faith has brought them together, courtesy of the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons, collaborating with United Nations High Commission for Refugees to unveil this convention travel document to enable them access to any country of their choice.
Serves as a passport to any refugee who does not have his national passport. It is machine readable and it has a microchip containing the biodata of the holder. Therefore, a beneficiary has wide range of usage of the document.
Jermaine, her Georgian but now Nigerian sister-in-law Marina are not the only ones excited, because many others just like them from Turkey, Sudan, Chad, Syria and across Africa who have been restricted can now enjoy the benefits of the blue passport to explore other parts of the world. In Abuja, Momso Damien Dati, NTA News.
Some health matters now. Medical personnel in Kano are investigating the outbreak of a disease suspected to be measles in Dawakin Kudu local government, which has claimed the lives of 7 children. Lawan Salo Inua, who visited the affected community, reports that the Kano state government has mobilized health personnel to the area. Viewer discretion is advised, as some of the pictures may be disturbing.
The epidemic ravaged Sarai village in Dawakin Kudu local government area, which claimed lives of children. The sparsely populated Sarai village is without functional health facility, as parents seek medical attention in patent medicine stores. This is the only medical facility, and there is no vaccines to contain the outbreak. Some parents said the situation is beyond their control because they cannot access medication. This prompted Kano State government to deploy a medical team to contain the situation.
Part of what we do conduct is to conduct community sensitization, because we have identified gaps in terms of the people not coming to the health facility, so that we have prompt notification so that immediate response can be conducted.
Sare community are appealing to Kano State government to address the issue of the primary health center to make it more functional and responsive to their needs. From Kano, Lawal Sallau Inwa, NTA News.
Great men who lived for honor, integrity, and selflessness are forever remembered, just like late General Emmanuel Olumuyiwa Abisui, whose legacy the Abisui Foundation is nurturing for the good of the society. Hadiza Godwin Ebune reports that the objectives of the Abisui Foundation were projected during a visit to the new Vice Chancellor of the University of Abuja, Professor Abdurrashid Na'Allah, by members of the Board of Trustees of the Foundation.
Major General Emmanuel Olumuyiwa Abisoye was the institution's first pro-chancellor. The foundation seeks to immortalize him and propagate some of his values, which the foundation cites are key to actualization of Nigerians' national aspirations.
He was an officer of great character, highly respected in the army. There was never any doubt as to his integrity. So he was a great man, and we just feel that people who have made great contribution to the development of our country and their professional calling should not just be forgotten.
I just want to promote the ideals that Abisoye believed and lived for generation to come to emulate.
Professor Abdurrashid Na'Allah, on his part, says he is proud to be associated with the ideals that the foundation stands for.
Now, people coming together to form this foundation, and this decision to always have an annual lecture on the campus of University of Abuja is the right decision. We as university always want cutting-edge research, ideas to go to people.
The Abisoye Foundation's vision is to see the youths embrace values that are germane to nation building. Hadiza Godwin Ebuni, NTA News.
And now it's time to join Dotun in our Lagos Center for more reports. Dotun.
Thank you, Cyril, and a warm welcome to Lagos. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has reaffirmed its commitment towards improving the nation's electoral process. Chairman of the Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, stated this at the 2019 Post-Election Review Forum with resident electoral commissioners in Lagos. Rotimi Oluwagbemi compiled this report.
This forum, chaired by INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, is the 12th in the series after the 2019 general elections. The goal of the meeting is to bring to a close the Commission's internal consultation and meeting with various stakeholders in the last general elections. It is also to create a level playing ground for resident electoral commissioners from the 36 states and the FCT to review the 2019 general elections, take recommendations and solutions in going forward.
We are convinced that immediately after the conclusion of one general election, planning for the next election should begin in earnest. This is precisely what we are doing in this series of engagements.
Other speakers are optimistic that the forum will provide opportunity for experience sharing among participants.
All the experiences and so on, you know, the missed opportunities, the things we did wrong, the things we did right, we'll put all of them together and come up with a report. And we hope to be able to do this before the Bayelsa and the Kogi elections, because those ones are in November.
The electoral process is revolving, and with the new legislative house, we believe that some of our recommendations be looked into and a lot of amendments made to the Constitution and hopefully the Electoral Act and the Constitution.
Independent National Electoral Commission is expected to forward the outcome of the meeting to the National Assembly for consideration as a roadmap in amending the National Electoral Act.
The Economic Recovery Roadmap of the federal government has contributed significantly to the development of the subsector from 37 million in 2010 to over 41 million in 2017. Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, Edith Akpan, while presenting the National Survey of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises 2017 report, said the sector contributed over 40% to the gross domestic product. Abolade Salami reports.
The macro, small and medium enterprises are commonly referred to as the engine room of economic transformation and industrialization for developed and developing nations. In the light of this, Sweden in the year 2010 and 2013 conducted its first and second data survey on MSMEs, where it recorded about 17 million MSMEs with over 32 million employed, contributing about 46.8% to the GDP. The figures increased in 2017 to over 41 million enterprises, with Lagos contributing over 11.5%, followed by Oyo State with 8.4%, while Osun occupies the third position with 4.1%.
Working in contact with other institutions in both the public and private sectors to create good enabling environment for businesses in general and micro, small and medium enterprises activities in particular.
There is growth in the economy of this country by the growth in the subsector. You can see that the categories of MSMEs we have in the country have grown.
The survey, which was conducted to establish a credible database for MSMEs subsector and analyze the impact on the economy, further seeks to assess the performance and growth of the economy.
And micro business increased by about 12%. Small business also increased by about 4%. But medium-scale enterprises dropped significantly by 60%.
In sustaining the growth of the subsector, stakeholders appealed for access to capital at a single-digit rate. In Lagos, Abolade Salami, NTA News.
You're still watching NTA Network News. More reports ahead after this break. Do stay with us.
We're back in Abuja now. 65 members of the Islamic sect movement of Nigeria have been arrested as they return to the streets of Abuja on Thursday in continuation of their protests for the release of their leader El Zakzaki. Tessie Omeri reports.
A protest by the Islamic sect movement of Nigeria is taking another dimension. Barely 24 hours after a protest that disrupted peace within the FCT, with 9 policemen injured as well as several vehicles damaged, the group were back on the streets again. This necessitated the FCT Police Command to disperse them in order to avoid escalation.
We converge also to make sure that we give them the much cover needed. Unfortunately, they turned their civil procession or whatever violent. They started attacking the policemen, throwing stones onto us. Because of this attack, we felt there's need to disperse them, and of course we dispersed them using minimum force. That minimum force is we tear gas them to make sure that they disperse, so that we're not going to get a repeat of what happened on Tuesday. And in the process of dispersing them, we're able to arrest up to 65 of them. The roads are now okay. Citizens should go about their local businesses without any fear.
Eyewitness account shows that even though there was panic, but normalcy has returned.
I was going to work, and on reaching here, I saw the protesters with stones, and the police were inciting them, warning shots in the air and dispatched them.
Imagine somebody as far back as maybe Jikoi is now the one telling somebody to say that there is fight at Secretariat. And so what information do you have there that you are so, but I am at that Secretariat right now, and there is nothing, no problem, no fight, so people should calm down.
On arrival at the entrance of the National Assembly shows that Nigerians are going about their normal businesses, and then security personnel are on alert to forestall any breakdown of law and order. Tessie Omeri, NTA News.
The 2019 Hajj inaugural flight is flagged off with about 500 intending pilgrims at Umar Musa Yar'Adua International Airport, Katsina. Correspondent Muhammad Salisu Awal reports that President Buhari urged the intending pilgrims to focus on nation building while performing the Hajj.
President Muhammadu Buhari, who was represented by Katsina State Governor Aminu Bello Masari, employed the intending pilgrims to use the Hajj exercise to foster national cohesion and respect for one another.
Nigeria needs to prepare now more than ever. I have
watch the activities of Hajj closely and noted the early improvement in National Hajj Commission of Nigeria and the respective state treatment of their votes that achieved even to the admiration of the Arabian authorities.
The President also stressed the need for the intending pilgrims to abide by rules and regulations of the Saudi Arabian government to avoid being caught breaking their laws. Chairman, National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, Abdullahi Mukhtar Muhammad, admonished the intending pilgrims to be good ambassadors of the country.
This effort of Saudi government has eliminated the hardship of taking passports to embassies and the logistics required for that.
There were goodwill messages from relevant stakeholders alongside the Saudi Arabian ambassador to Nigeria. Some intending pilgrims expressed their satisfaction on the arrangement for this year's Hajj operation exercise. About 65,000 intending pilgrims are to be airlifted from Nigeria to perform the 2019 Hajj exercise. In Kazana, Mohamed Salis Abdul.
And Kemi in our Ibadan Center has the next set of reports on Network News. Kemi.
Good evening and welcome to Ibadan. Former head of state, General Abdulsalami Abubakar, has implored government at all levels to formulate sustainable economic policies that would impact lives and discourage Nigerians from being used as elements of insecurity. General Abubakar stated this when he paid a courtesy visit to the Oyo State Governor, Seyi Makinde. Ayomiku Ajibola has the details.
Urging Nigerians to be security conscious at all times, report activities that might portend any national danger, the former head of state expressed hope that security challenges in the nation is surmountable.
The government in trying to provide economic base and activity for the individuals so that individuals will be involved in making life comfortable for themselves so they wouldn't have any problem or time to go and cause trouble.
He congratulated Governor Seyi Makinde on his emergence as governor, noting that it has become gratifying for younger generation taking over position of authority. On his part, the governor noted that his administration has begun studying the security architect on ground in the state to draw up formidable structure for peace and security.
We know precisely where we want to go, so in a very short time, you start seeing changes in the security architecture of the state.
Governor Makinde emphasized that a peaceful environment is the most fundamental prerequisite for the progress and development of any society or nation. In Ibadan, Ayomiku Ajibola, NTA News.
And that's it from Ibadan. Cyril, back to you.
Thank you, Kemi. And rather short break. Stay with us.